Welcome to Laplink Connections. Today I'm talking with Pam Krueger, the CEO of Wealthramp. Pam, how are you?
Thomas, I'm great. It's great to be with you. I love your backdrop. I love where you are.
Yeah, I should license my backdrop. The office view is pretty nice, and it, with the sun going on, it's very nice, but very cold today. Well, Pam, I'm very excited to have you join me today. Usually I have guests discussing technology trends or important issue we're facing today in our society, but not financial issues. That said, lately I had a lot of people asking me about retirement plans, what I have done, when did I do it, and what would I recommend. It seems to be right now a hot topic, and people must have had a lot of New Year's resolutions. As always at the end of the year. Well, and another point, in full disclosure, I am an early investor in Wealthramp. So although I try not to be biased in this discussion. But before we start, Pam, I want to set the stage for everyone. Could you simply explain the differences between 401k, IRA, and Roth IRA?
Sure. All three of those describe retirement plans that have distinct tax advantages. The question is, what are the differences? And the 401k, for example, or a 401(b) are plans that are offered to you through your employer, and they give you the chance to invest and save with big upfront tax breaks by basically taking your money pre-tax and putting it to work. And then there's the traditional IRA, and then there's the Roth IRA. And each one has its own differences, pros and cons, and limitations.
Great, yeah, because I think that a lot of employees, they get the 401k and then forget about it, yeah, because it's handled by the company. After so many years as a TV personality, you choose to start a new company, Wealthramp. Tell us a little bit more about Wealthramp.
Wealthramp was born out of a need to help individuals, whether they're at work and they're investing for their future retirement, their future selves through their 401k that's offered by their employer, or whether they choose to go with an IRA account, whether it be a Roth or a traditional, those are just the independent retirement accounts, individual retirement accounts that anybody can open as long as they're eligible for it outside of work. So when people are coming and they're looking for information, especially as they get closer to retirement, life becomes more complex and layered and complicated. I have a lot of engineers, in fact, who are coming to me and saying, look, I love spreadsheets. I've been managing my own investments. I've been saving and investing, and I think I've been doing a pretty good job. But at some point, a lot of people say, but I'm married and my spouse and I have decided we want a fresh pair of eyes. We want to collaborate, and we want to stress test our own assumptions and our own projections to make sure we're not drinking our own Kool-Aid. So they come to me in order to meet and get matched with financial advisors who specialize in what they are looking to accomplish. And I do that through a website called Wealthramp, where people come in, we use an algorithm, it's a real algorithm, and it matches people, based on a host of different questions. And then we align them to a very curated network within that network of advisors that I personally have interviewed and rigorously vetted every single advisor. So, Thomas, I've never been a person with my background. I had TV series on PBS for years. I would never tell people everyone needs a financial advisor. I say, when you decide that life has become complicated or that you do feel like you want a planner or an advisor, come to me, because this is where we will take the time to thoughtfully match you to the right vetted fiduciary fee-only advisor.
You mentioned fiduciary and fee-only. What does that mean, and why is that important?
It's super important today. The industry of financial advice is an industry. It's not a profession. So it's not like doctors and lawyers. There are very few basically barriers to entry. So most of the industry, if you will, for financial advice comes from brokerage firms or from insurance companies. Now, the people who are working there are smart, they're doing a great job, but the business model is sales. So they are there to work for the brokerage firm or the insurance company and recommend the investments and the strategies where they get paid a commission to make those recommendations. Now, you can say that's right or wrong or good or bad. Over here, there is a different channel of advisors available to you. They're independent of brokerage firms or insurance companies. And the reason that they're called fiduciaries isn't because we want to just name them. It's because legally, they are held to a higher standard than the brokerage firm or the insurance company, and they have to legally act in your best interest. They don't get paid commissions. So here's where the fee-only part comes in. Fee-only means that they're compensated only by their clients. So you pay them, you hire them, they work only and directly for you. They don't have anybody else to serve. So they want to make sure that they are your advocate, they're keeping fees down, and they are focused on advice just for you. So you're paying them a fee, hence the name fee only. So fiduciary and fee only represent only about 10% of the available advisors who are out there. So that's why the key to finding them and finding the right one, I mean, it's just a blur. It's a mishmash. And that's why Wealthramp, that's why I created Wealthramp, to make order out of chaos so people can come in and they can find an advisor who is, going to be the best fit, who's already been vetted to be fee only and fiduciary.
Great, yes, because I mean, if I hear the biggest criticism that people are talking about is, oh, my advisor just always traded, and after all the fees of trading, there was nothing left. In your case, you're saying fiduciary is really that the advisor get paid a percentage of what your portfolio is, a very small percentage, so that his work is success-based, more or less, and they don't make money by trading more.
Right. So there's no incentive for a real advisor, a fiduciary fee-only advisor. They work for you. They're your advocate. They don't gain anything by selling transactions. If they work for a firm and they're selling transactions, they get rewarded on the backside from their company. Keep it up, keep it up. That has nothing to do with what's in your best interest. Over here, when you have a fiduciary fee-only advisor, there's different ways to pay them, Thomas. You can pay them on what you described, which is an assets under management, where it might come to 1% or less of the value of the total of your portfolio, or you can negotiate and arrange a retainer fee. And I'll tell you, it doesn't matter on a fee-only basis. What it comes down to for all fiduciary fee-only advisors is time and complexity. So your fee is going to be smaller if you don't have a lot of complexity. But if you're someone who is, let's say, on your third marriage, you've got stepkids, you've got real estate, you've got a business, and you've got multiple IRA accounts and 401k, and you've got like this big estate planning issue, and then let's just throw in that you might have other curveballs like startup stock options. All of a sudden, things are very complex, and it's both in the planning, the financial planning, and the tax planning, and the cash flow planning, and the investments. So you're not hiring an advisor who's going to go straight to telling you, Thomas, here's the best investment for you. That's not an advisor. An advisor is going to sit down and look at your whole picture and look at your whole life, and in the context of everything else, then to develop an investment strategy that works hand in hand with your tax needs. And when you're looking to retire and special circumstances, you may have a child on the autism spectrum. That means you have to save for a third retirement. How can anybody give you investment advice if they don't know that about you?
Yeah, that's very compelling. On the other hand, I want to play a little bit devil's advocate. In today's world, we can do everything ourselves online. You talked about, people who have it in their Excel spreadsheets. And there are big brokerage firms with very few fees like Fidelity, E-Trade, or even, the new kid on the block for the younger people, Robinhood. So why do we really need an advisor if we understand the issues?
Two things. Number one, you're going to be blown away at how the fees for Robinhood and all of these robo-advisors have crept up, and they're almost to the point where they're meeting where my advisors are charging. You don't need an advisor if you don't need an advisor. And I'm never going to be the person to say everyone should have an advisor. Here's why. Never. In fact, I had a television series on PBS where I was negative Nancy about advisors because I was constantly telling people, oh, you have to vet them. There's so much to know. You have to be wary. You have to be skeptical. So I'm not that person to say everyone needs an advisor. I am saying you can take the digital tools that are out there, but please understand how much they cost if they're going to manage your money, and then compare that to what you really need. If you don't need that kind of planning and that extra help and that collaboration that you get from a human advisor, then it's perfect. We live in a world where we have so many choices. All you have to do is get educated and check out the fees. And then if you're the person who crosses over and says, you know what, I'm ready for some help, you know who you are, and there's something for everybody. I just don't want people to wander into the financial advisor search and just be so confused and so overwhelmed and misled and then fatigued. And then what happens? They settle. I'm here to say, don't you dare settle. Set your expectations. If you are going to think about having an advisor, set your expectations way up here and don't lower them.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Because for one thing, I think, and you said that already, advisors will also do more for you than just advise you on investment. There is a little bit of life planning, of perhaps trusts for somebody, or, how do you structure your inheritance and so on. And the other thing I want to say is that there's a lot of misinformation. I mean, I love the commercials with Koll, the advisor, and Schwab. Yeah, they are kind of funny, but they are also wrong. First of all, in all my life, I haven't seen an advisor, Koll, who, scribbles full the blackboard. On the other hand, some of the bigger brokerage firms we work with, they are not as hands-on as we think. And it's not very personal, no matter what they say. So I think it's probably good advice to find the right advisor. The question, of course, is how to find it. How do I vet them? And I think that's where, of course, Wealthramp is doing the job for us.
That's right. And then there's
for the person.
Yeah, and Thomas, there's even some large registered investment advisory firms that are not attached to brokerage firms or insurance companies that are totally fiduciary, 100% fiduciary, 100% fee only. I don't want anything to do with them. Why? It's not because they're terrible. It's because they're not on a report card because they're cookie cutter. And I'm not going to name the names, but you've heard the TV commercials. And once they get cookie cutter and they're huge, then it's probably better to work with somebody you're paying a fee, of course, than getting the commission deal with getting the recommendations made from the broker in the sales part of it. But within that independent advisor channel, there are about 70,000 in the United States, 70,000. And that's probably comparing 300,000 who work at brokerage firms and insurance companies. So you're much more likely to bump into the bigger the cookie cutter. Okay, you're much more likely. The advisors who are on a report card, who in my opinion are outstanding, are almost like they're so hard to find because they're hiding in plain sight. It's like they're trees in the forest and they all look the same, and you have to literally go up and know how to vet each one of them individually. And you might get lucky and stumble onto an excellent, outstanding advisor. But I personally, because I've been around it since I was 24 years old, I don't want any advisors in my network who can't demonstrate to me that they can hit the high water marks and be an A on a report card across a lot of different categories of vetting. It's not just about investments. It's about the planning, it's about the communication, it's about the client attention. There's a zillion things that go into looking at what makes a really great experience for a client.
Yeah, and having a great advisor does not mean that you earn tons of money, because the market is still the market. And what I never liked is an advisor who says, I made 20% for you when the market was going up, and when the market is going down, that's the market. Yeah, we will have up and downs. There's no question. That it's really a matter of trust, and how you can work with them and so on. And I agree with you. There are probably a lot of people that don't have the chance to find the right advisor or know how to go about it, because otherwise we wouldn't always get the question, well, who do you use? Yeah, have you heard about anybody good? And I do the same thing. Every of my friends that I see, I said, well, who are you using? Oh, I'm using those guys. Let me see. And why would you do that? Anyway, so I think the point that is important here is check out a good advisor, talk with them, see if you like them, that you can trust them, and then give it a chance. It's not a lifetime commitment.
Yeah, I would probably say that I would be more skeptical than that. I would probably say that take your time before you sign on with any advisor, and just make sure you understand the vetting process and the vetting thought process that went into it, because a lot of people will say, Thomas, that they'll get to a point where they'll say, you know what, any advice is going to be better than no advice, right? So if I listen to this person and they're not great, at least I'll get something out of it. No, because if it takes you in the wrong direction, and it could take you backward or sideways, it's not helping you. I would rather see people learn more about being their own financial advisor as long as they can, and then when they are ready to take that step, to just really focus in on taking it very, very seriously. And also, what part of the success of the relationship is the collaboration. It's an active participant exercise. It's not where you're going to go. I'm not going to go to you, Thomas, and say, okay, I'm going to give you my money. I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to wake up and you're going to tell me how much I've made or where I am. It's all about collaboration, because I want to have confidence in my own plan. I want someone who will listen to me, and I want my own strategy and confidence in my own strategy and my own financial plan so that I can sleep at night, because the only reason at the end of the day that anyone's going to ever want an advisor is simply to know that they've stress tested their worst nightmares and that they feel that there is that sense of confidence and I can sleep at night. And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to the programs itself. So most employers will offer 401k plans, which you can switch to an IRA after you switch employers or you retire. So 401ks with your employer, IRAs outside of the company. But when does it make sense to switch to a Roth IRA? The difference here, of course, as you explained, the regular IRA is tax-free money invested, and then you get taxed when you take it out in retirement, versus the Roth IRA, where it's taxed money, but then you never pay taxes on taking money out. So in my sense, wouldn't it make sense to start in Roth IRA as early as possible? Doesn't the math run in favor of a Roth IRA where you don't have to pay taxes on income in the future?
Math works in favor of actually having both. And hopefully you're in a position where you don't have to choose. Fund both. The younger you start with the Roth, it's super smart, because you've got all those, not just years, decades of tax-free growth. And guess what? Withdrawals from Roths when you want to go buy a house and you not need a down payment are much more flexible. Does that mean you do that at the expense of not putting money into your 401k? No, or not having an individual traditional IRA. The traditional IRA is really great if you're in your peak earning years. There's a ton of value to being able to take that upfront tax benefit that you get, essentially pre-tax money, that you would have gone to taxes instead. Think about it. It grows and it grows and it grows over the years instead of going to Uncle Sam. But in terms of the traditional IRA and getting that tax deduction, same thing. So if you can do both, it's a super smart strategy. It's called tax diversification. It actually has a name, and it just makes sense because you're combining the benefits of both. But it's important to also recognize that there are limitations on the Roth. The Roth is such like a piece of candy. Everybody wants it, and you can't make roughly into 2023, individuals can't really make more than $153,000 a year and be eligible. And then the max you can contribute to all IRAs, total IRAs, are going to be $6,500 this year coming up. So it can be $7,500 if you're over age 50. So think about that. You have a total of only so much money that the IRS will allow you to pick and choose which tax benefits you want. So you can't plan out and know for a fact that you're going to be in a lower tax bracket later, or that you're in the lower tax bracket now and we don't know. So the best way to plan for it is do both if you can. Fund both a Roth. And if you have kids, getting them started on a Roth IRA, just like you said, Thomas, brilliant strategy for helping them jumpstart and get going. It's a great way to great way to get it.
And I think it's correct to say that you can fund the Roth IRA from your IRA. So there's no limit when you convert a 401k into an IRA and then the IRA into a Roth IRA. Right. So you have more flexibility, except you have to pay taxes when you take money out of the IRA. And so at that time you pay the tax, but then you can put it in. So, and these are complex strategies. I mean, they're actually very simple, but after a day you already forgot about how it doesn't work. And again, that's where advisors come in, that can, work with you and say, yeah, make it balanced. Balance is always, a good thing.
I actually have a name for this. I actually call it like, how if you have a garden, if you've ever had a garden, it's a pain in the neck. You have to, it's alive, it's dynamic, it's changing. So you've got to weed, you've got to feed, you've got to deadhead, you've got to change the soil and replant. Your whole tax life in combination with your investments, your IRAs, it's all gardening because it's alive. The market's changing, interest rates are changing, you're changing, things you can control, things you can't control. So all that maintenance of the garden of your investments and your tax planning and your financial planning, that's where you're either a gardener and you do it yourself and you've got it figured out and it's efficient, or you go and you say, I'm tired of doing all this. It's too complicated. There's too many different ways I can screw up.
Right. That's why I have a gardener. I'd rather pay than do it myself. But that's a good example of where it can be simple, can be complex, but it's always good to have somebody that at least can talk with you, can discuss it, can give you pointers, and you can still read up on everything. But there are a lot of people who come to you and sell you the easy life, and of course the big dollars. And we know that
that's not advice. Sales, exactly.
Investments mean that you are betting on something working out or not. Unless you take notes from the Federal Reserve, or you put it into your savings account or into your bank account, but that is probably certainly not the best way. Well, I think, we really said it, think about it as early as possible. Yeah, take your time. Advisor is not 100% necessary, but it might be a good way to discuss it, to balance it, and perhaps see that you just have a quarterback with you that looks over your shoulder and helps you. And I think another just simple advice is, don't commit everything you have to one advisor. Yeah, you can give part of your assets.
I'm going to disagree with you there.
That is good. Yeah, disagree.
You're not, what you're doing by compartmentalizing is you're really You're really hurting yourself, because you've got to take the whole picture into consideration, because Thomas, what I do over here is going to impact what happens over here. And if I have this with one person thinking I'm smart, having my money divided up, I'm not smart. I've just screwed myself, because this over here has affected this over here, but they're not talking to each other. So the key is, if you want an advisor relationship holistically, you want to pick the right advisor. And you want the advisor to understand everything about your kids, your family, your dreams, your nightmares, your assets, your debt, everything. So that's why choosing the right person in the first place to talk to is so incredibly important to your overall, your whole financial life.
Yeah, I probably stick with my view that, I mean, I want to test out an advisor perhaps just with a fraction without committing everything up front. I think it can grow and you can move more and more into the management. I'm not totally disagreeing with you. I'm just saying, for those people who have a hard time just letting go, and if you want to share everything, then you have to build the trust.
Yeah, and here's the good news. There's no rule that says that when you work with an advisor, you have to give them your money. Right. You don't need to do any of that. All you have to do is keep your money at Schwab and pay them for advice only. So they're not managing your money until the day you decide, right, I want you to manage my money for me. In the meantime, I'm going to pay you to advise me and guide me. So that's the way to walk into it. I would not want to walk in the very same day, hand over the keys to the car and say, okay, go ahead and drive. I would say, you be in the passenger seat, I'll continue to drive, and when I get sick of driving, then we can switch.
Well, and I think that is also the approach that you're taking. All of us are different. Yeah, we have different fears, we have different hopes. Some are more aggressive, some are more conservative. And so you have to find also the right advisor for you. And I think what Wealthramp is doing in that is trying to figure out, perhaps in a somewhat simple way, but are you more aggressive, or what's your age, when do you want to reach your goals, and what you want to do. And then you give, if I understand it correctly, a small group of advisors that I can then call and have conversations with, and pick one or not, or ask for more.
Yeah.
So right. It is really about the individual or the individual family with their needs, their complexities, their simplicities, that get matched in the best way with an advisor, but you are in charge.
That's right. So when people flow through Wealthramp, and I do ask questions in order to ascertain, where does it hurt? What do you want to do? What are you really looking for? A lot have people that come to me every day and they'll say, I am really interested in sustainable investing and I don't want to do anything but. Or I'll have people who will say, I have 2 children who are on the autism spectrum and I really need help with special needs, or whatever their situation might be, or just simple retirement income planning. And when they are matched with those 3 advisors and they're presented with those 3 advisors, they are then in control. It's a one-way mirror. So I don't share our individual users' information with those advisors. It has to be you, the individual, who says, I want to speak to Thomas. I'm going to, and I only give you 3 because you don't really need more than 3 unless there's something that changes in your profile that you say, no, I've changed my mind. So I give you 3 really good advisors, and then it's up to you completely. You're empowered. You're the one to reach out whenever you want to. And we don't pressure, we don't rush. I always say, look, I'm here to answer questions and to, anything you might need, but we will not allow advisors to see you until you want to be seen.
Yeah, it's not that like what we usually have, we fill out a form and 3 seconds later we get the marketing calls.
Yeah, the lead gen business it looks a lot like the same sort of funnel that you go through, and they suck in your email and your phone, and then your phone's ringing off the hook with insurance agents. Hi, you need an advisor. That happens. We're not a lead gen. We are really adamant about protecting people's privacy and data and allowing our users to be the ones you can reach out and book a calendar date with any advisor that's on our platform, or you can just simply say, can you make an introduction, Pam? Or you can ask a question, but you have to be the one to initiate it. And that's just, to me, it's just the right way to do it.
Yes. And last question about Wealthramp. Geographically, do you have advisors all over the US, or are there certain, more in New York and more in California, or, can I find advisors everywhere?
Yeah, advisors everywhere. I think that I think Bismarck, North Dakota might be an area that we are missing. I think, there's like a couple of little areas where it's not that I don't want to find an advisor suitable that's in that geographic region, but I am a gatekeeper, Thomas. And if I don't find an advisor who is an A on our report card, they're not getting into my network. I would rather have you talk to someone who's as close as possible, but be the right advisor, than give you someone who I don't fully, and I just won't lower my standards. And if I won't lower my standards, I don't want you to lower yours.
Yeah, and when you say it is actually a whole group of highly trained people with you, although I think you do a lot of the scrutiny of the advisor. But the company has great talent that is working with you to create this whole network of advisors and help your users to succeed.
Well, we have a team, and the team is fantastic, but they don't get onto the platform unless they have an interview with me. They have to have a personal one-on-one interview with me, because there are times where, believe it or not, I might find someone squeaky clean and they look great and everything checks out. And then I get down to that interview and I find, there's a bit of an attitude here where the advisor might have that, let me allow you to bask in the glow of my expertise. The minute I get that kind of hubris or that kind of talking down, can't be on the platform. They're not going to be.
I was not talking about the advisors. I was talking about the Wealthramp team.
Yeah,
you get supported by great team of professionals.
Yep.
Because it sounded a little bit as you are one person company. That is of course not true. Yeah. There are a lot of great people working.
I'm the final say on who gets in.
Yes, and then I think that's important because you have certainly the background and so many years in the business. So perhaps last question, and that is exactly what I want to talk about. You had a successful career in media and business. What would you recommend for young executives and managers? What has helped you to be successful? What would you tell them?
Well, a couple of things. First and foremost, if you're fortunate enough to have a vision that you're obsessed with and that you're committed to, it's that dogged perseverance, not taking no for an answer, and that determination, and really sticking with that vision. And then when I got great advice a long time ago from the founder of Autodesk, and she told me that the biggest mistake that she sees with employees coming up is they only want to stick in their department. And they're afraid to go around from different department to different department, even if it's not in their skill set, and get experience and understand how the company works. So if you're in a company environment and you want to move up, especially women are really, we do this a lot where we stick, like let's say it's marketing. We tend to stay in the marketing channel forever versus, not being afraid to, open doors and go to engineering and go just to understand and get a much better understanding. That's more career related money advice. But I think that the real important thing for people to realize and recognize is don't be hard on yourself if you don't feel you understand everything about whether a Roth is better than a traditional IRA or whatever you should be doing and when you should be doing it and how, because we didn't grow up with this. We should. We don't really, most of us did not get exposed to financial literacy and financial education in personal finance and investing in high school, which is really where, or even in middle school, it should be introduced. So you want to just acquire a little knowledge. Knowledge is power. Try to acquire a little bit of knowledge because we live in an age where you can. And just try to teach yourself as much as you possibly can about money and investing in the capital markets, because that advice, whether it's career or whether it's your personal finances or whether it's just your confidence in whatever you're going to do, it just really builds that knowledge. Just keep acquiring knowledge about money and the capital markets and investing, and that's going to serve you well.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of truth in that. I totally agree. Well, I think we come to an end. It was a fascinating discussion. And I think for everybody who watches this segment, you saw that Pam is extremely, committed to helping you be successful, to the point that she said, well, feel free to give my email address. So if you need more information, go to wealthramp.com or write directly to pam@wealthramp.com. We will also put that on the blog. So she will make sure that your questions are answered. So thank you very much, Pam. It was great to see you again. Have a great holiday season. And I hope you will get lots of email from people who have questions or want to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much for including me in this today, and happy holidays to everybody.
Thanks, and goodbye.
Bye for now.